Okay,
We've had
continue.
such an exciting start to this particular interview in my masterclass series. I'm so glad that you are with us, and I'm so delighted to have Dafna Tachover on this show because she's so phenomenal, and the information that she's going to share with you is something that you will be able to use everywhere. And because we are being bombarded by 5G and there's a proliferation of information that's being disseminated to people, but Daphna's got she's got the lowdown. She's gonna really break down what 5G is. So I want to ask you to warmly welcome Daphna into your home. Dafna Tachover is a lawyer. She's an MBA. She's a technology expert, and she has her own organization called We Are the Evidence, WATE.org, and she's recently joined Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In the mission to bring awareness and to end 5G, so it's Stop 5G and Wireless Homes, for the wonderful organization Children's Health Defense, children'shealthdefense.org. So I am thrilled, delighted, and excited to be dialoguing with Daphna today. So welcome, Daphna.
Thank you, Wendy, and everyone on the call. Thank you very much. All right,
yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes. So let's jump in, and will you please share what is 5G?
That's a good start. There's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding as to what 5G is. So 5G is not a technology, it is an infrastructure. So the letter G stands for generation. We had 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. 1G was talk, 2G was talk and text, 3G was talk, text, and a little bit of data, and 4G was talk, text, and a lot of data. But 5G is, all of it was about connecting people. 5G is about connecting things, not about connecting people. 5G is the infrastructure for the Internet of Things, which means that anything and everything in our environment is going to have wireless microwave transmission in it. So right now your cell phone emits wireless and wireless radiation, and it has an antenna, cell towers, a few other devices. But when they're going to start now with the IoT, with the Internet of Things, everything and anything is going to have a transmitting antenna. That means adding 20 billion more wireless transmitting antenna into the environment, all interconnected. And if you have so many wireless devices now connecting, you need many more antennas to support that infrastructure and to connect all of these devices. So essentially, 5G is an exponential increase in our exposure to this radiation and in this infrastructure. They're going to have 800,000 cell towers in the next couple of years. And those are not, they are regular cell towers, but they're called small cells. And those small cells antenna essentially are going to be deployed and are being deployed close to our homes, on electric poles, on light poles. They are just as bad as the big cell towers, but in some ways even worse. They may have less antenna. They are lower, mean the radiation is closer to us and in closer proximity, and therefore they're more harmful. While the big antennas that we had thus far may emit more radiation, those smaller, closer antenna may emit less radiation, but because of proximity, the end result is that in our neighborhoods we have radiation which is thousands to many thousands of times higher than what we had before. And so it is crucial to understand that 5G is not a new technology. Most of those antennas that are being deployed for the purpose of 5G are 4G antennas. But 4G is extremely harmful, just like 3G and 2G. So all of this is wireless radiation. The adding harmful element of 5G is the proximity and the amount of devices that are going to transmit all around us, including those cell towers. Now, some people think that 5G is about millimeter wave. 5G is not about millimeter wave. What are millimeter waves? Right now we're using microwave frequencies for wireless technology. Microwave frequencies are a group of frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum. And we use frequencies between 600 megahertz, which means 600 million oscillations per second, to something around 6 gigahertz, which is 6 billion oscillations per second. But the microwave group of frequency goes up to 300 gigahertz. Millimeter waves are the part of the microwave frequency group that goes between 20 to 90 gigahertz. Now, some of the companies are using also millimeter waves towards the 5G infrastructure. And the reason they're doing it, it's because those higher frequencies have bigger bandwidth, like more bigger roads for more cars. But 5G is not about millimeter waves. Only, as I said, some of the companies are using them. We don't know even that necessarily they're more harmful than the lower frequency. It's just another layer of harm. More frequencies that harm our body, more modulations and pulsations that harm our body, and a lot more of this radiation anywhere and everywhere. So this is 5G. 5G is wireless infrastructure to support Internet of Things and anything and everything that will come moving forward. And mostly it's about action to take over our rights to our public rights of way. So enable the wireless industry to be able to put cell towers and cell antennas anywhere and everywhere without us having any ability to object this infrastructure for any reasons. And I think that it's also important to know that this is not the only part of 5G. So as I said, 5G is everything and anything that will come moving forward. So it's supposed to address driverless cars, artificial intelligence, and we're going to add more technology with a 5G. So for example, Elon Musk, who is the owner of Tesla, decided to start a project called SpaceX, which is a company aiming at sending satellites to cover our Earth with Wi-Fi transmission. He already got approval for 12,000 satellites from the FCC. He submitted application for 30,000 more satellites. Now, these satellites are going to cover the Earth with radiation, but that's not all of the radiation he's going to add to our environment. These satellites would not connect directly with our devices. He will need antennas on the ground to connect to our devices and then send the messages from our devices to the satellites back and forth. So in order to do that, he submitted an application to the FCC to allow deployment of 1 million antennas on the ground to transmit Wi-Fi and microwave radiation. And on March 13, the FCC actually approved his application for deployment. In addition, he submitted a request to get $16 billion in subsidies to fund all of this project. So he's making money by the money we're giving in our tax money. So it's all pretty nuts. Another layer of this insanity is something called air gig. And air gig is basically transferring Wi-Fi over power lines. So it's not only installing 5G or small cell antennas on power lines, it's actually using the power lines to carry the signal and transmit it. So everywhere you're going to have power lines, you're going to have Wi-Fi and wireless transmitted. So there's not going to be any escape from this anywhere and everywhere. So this is what's coming, guys. Wake up. Sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Daphna, that's crazy.
It is.
So with this onslaught of electromagnetic radiation, how will we grow crops? How will we take care of our bodies and our babies and our homes? What recourse? I mean, I have your article, which is so wonderful, and everybody who's registered, I will make sure that you get a copy of this. It's on Children's Health Defense, but I'll make sure that you get it. You know, how to make remote learning for your children during COVID-19 quarantine and beyond, because we know
Yes.
that life is going to be very different once this quarantine ends.
Yeah.
But so I have so many questions. Yeah.
So I think we'll start by saying, so this is pretty terrible, and this radiation is assaulting our being. I mean, this radiation is essentially high intensity, high frequency, complex radiation that affects almost every system and every organ in the human body. You know, your brain is electric, our heart is electric, the nervous system is electric, our cells communicate electrically. So, and there are thousands of studies, literally thousands of studies proving beyond any doubt how harmful this technology is for us. So this is, as you said, an assault on our body. And actually, we just sent a legal letter against a real estate company that's going to install a cell tower in a community center. And we explained that this is literally battery and assault. So this is assaulting us, but it's assaulting every living being on the planet, animals, plants, and the whole electromagnetic system. I think we see the results already. It's not that this is some kind of like 1,000 studies about potential harms. We're already seeing the harm manifested. There is widespread sickness from this technology, and it's manifested in many ways. And I suffer from microbe sickness, which basically a condition that people experience various neurological symptoms when exposed to its radiation. I get headaches. I have a speech problem. As you can see now, there's a lot of radiation. I have heart palpitation, sleep disturbances, tingling, electric shocks in my body when I'm exposed to this radiation, a lot of cognitive and memory problems when I'm exposed. And this is just one condition, and studies show that at least 10% of the population are already suffering from these symptoms, and I believe that the rates are probably higher. This radiation is causing cancer and aggravating existing cancers. This radiation is causing reproductive harms. We know that in the past 30 years, there is a reduction of 30% in the quality of sperm. In the past 10 to 15 years, it's somewhere between 15 to 40% reduction. 25% of couples are in fertility treatment, and the evidence is beyond conclusive on the connection to exposure to this radiation, especially for men who put the cell phone in a pocket, or men who use the laptop with a Wi-Fi, on their knees and close to their abdominals. We have evidence of Alzheimer. We have evidence of connection to ADHD, to autism, and we know that there is a huge increase in all of these conditions. And the evidence is there, and it's not a maybe. To some conditions, it's maybe stronger than in others, but overall, the evidence is conclusive that this radiation is causing massive harms. In terms of what can we do? I think the one thing we can do is at least protect ourselves to some extent in our homes. And it's very simple to do, but I think the problem is not technically how to do it. It's pretty easy to hardwire your house. I think it's more of a mental problem for people. People became so addicted to this technology, to the wireless technology, and there has to be a decision in every household that we stop. And I used to be addicted to this technology. I'm a technology person. I was the second person in the Israeli military with a laptop. I had 2 cell phones. I was traveling the world. I was one of the first people to get a wireless connection to my laptop, so I have Wi-Fi anywhere and everywhere. I met my ex-husband stealing Wi-Fi when nobody knew what Wi-Fi is. So I used to love this technology. My life revolved around this technology, but then I got sick and there was no choice. I could not touch this technology, and I'm still able to do everything. I'm talking to you over the computer, just everything, just hardwire. I don't use a cell phone. Sadly, I did get a cell phone 3 months ago for a specific reason, but it's in my car. It's off all the time, and I also put it in a pouch so they cannot track it even when it's off, because that pisses me off too, all this tracking system, especially now with the coronavirus. So I got a friend made for me a cover and gave it to me yesterday. So it's in my car covered now, but it's off all the time. And so we can do everything we do without exposure to this radiation. It's just a matter of making a decision and learning how to do it. But I think we have to do it. We are sick, our children are sick, and the exposure is increasing, and our body are not sustained to tolerate this radiation. And we see the growing sickness. So people should take immediate action to protect themselves, especially when the environmental exposure is growing higher and higher. We have to make sure our body have a way to have a safe environment that our body can get a break from. And I think if people will be able to create that environment in their home, they are more likely to succeed to tolerate the environment outside while we're fighting to stop this insanity.
Thank you. I thank you for that. It's so interesting, Daphna, because we were talking the other day, and I'm super sensitive. Today, my headache has abated, but I've had a headache for 5 days, and on Sunday and Monday it was kind of migraine-y. And I kept thinking to myself, what's going on? And I definitely feel like it's the increase, because there is that rumor that during quarantine, there's been 5G upgrades happening while people are sleeping. Now, I don't know, I mean, I know myself, I was out like 10 days ago, and it was 10:30 at night, and I was with my dog, and I saw this power line with these huge cables, and I asked the guy, what are you doing? And he wouldn't even talk to me. And I said, are you installing, what are you installing? What are you doing? And he said, I'm working on the power line. I was like, I could see that. and I said, are you installing 5G? And I mean, like, nothing, like, wouldn't even talk to me. I thought,
Admission of admission, right? Guilty.
right? It was really kind of like sci-fi
yeah.
movie. So didn't you and Bobby just have a win with a lawsuit with FCC? Is this, do I have my information, or did you just submit? Can you tell me more?
Yes. So first of all, I appreciate you said it. It's a rumor that they're putting more wireless. It's not a rumor. They're using the coronavirus to deploy. So, the roads are empty. It's much easier for them. I don't know if it's more than before. I suspect it is. They definitely use this time to to install wireless in the schools or upgrade the wireless. They even got money to do it. We do get a lot of, I got a call from a mayor saying, listen, I don't know what's going on. I see fleets of trucks anywhere and everywhere around here installing 5G antennas. Now, it is important to learn the language. Of course, these people are being instructed what to say and not to say. They know that the anti-5G movement is growing very, very fast, and they are concerned. So if you ask them if they put 5G, they'll tell you no, because allegedly there's no thing as 5G unless the wireless industry want to promote it, right? So essentially the right way to ask, whether it's your municipality or those people, are you installing small cell antennas?
Ooh,
that
okay.
is you're installing small cells antennas. That is the right language. If you say are you installing 5G, they tell you no. Or if you say, are you installing 5G, they say no, we're installing 4G, because most people don't understand the differences, but the bottom line, 5G is 4G. Most of the antennas installed are 4G. So the right language is asking, are you installing small cell antennas? That's how the 5G antennas are being called. In terms of what we're doing, so yes, we did submit a lawsuit on February 2nd, 2020. Same day of the Super Bowl, we started our own Super Bowl against the FCC. The FCC is the agency in our government that regulate the health effects. The FCC is not a health agency, nevertheless it regulates the health effects, quite absurdly, but of course this is industry making. And we basically attacked their guidelines. So what happened in 2012, there was a report by the General Accountability of Congress saying that it made no sense that the FCC did not review its guidelines since 1996. And so as a result of the General Accountability Office decision, the FCC opened something called a docket. So every time a government agency is making a decision, it has to open a docket to the public to comment, because our government allegedly is supposed to care what we have to say. That docket was open for 6 years, and there was, and the question was whether the FCC should review its health guidelines. It didn't say, oh, we were reviewing it. It just said whether we should review the guidelines. So more than 1,000 comments were submitted to that docket, and it was open for 6 years. But the FCC did not close it on purpose, because it knew that if it will close the docket, then we'll have the right to sue the FCC for whatever decision they're going to make. Long story, they were forced to close that docket through another lawsuit, and they closed it on December 4th, 2019, and that gave us 60 days to submit a lawsuit against the FCC for its decision. So we sued the FCC, and our claim is that their decision, that there's no evidence and therefore no need to review the guidelines, is capricious, arbitrary, not evidence-based, and abuse of discretion. We submitted it in a 9th Circuit, which is in California. We did have a small win over the FCC. The FCC try to transfer our case to the DC circuit. Now, if the FCC want to transfer your case to another court, it means that that's a court the FCC wants, and that means that's a case, that's a court you don't want. But anyway, we had our reasons why we submitted to the Ninth Circuit, and they tried to transfer our case. But what they really wanted to do is to transfer our case and then dismiss it. And we saw through their plans, and the way they wanted to dismiss it is every time the government makes a decision, after it closes the docket, it has to publish the decision in something called the Federal Register. And 60 days after it's published in the Federal Register, they're allowed to sue. The thing is, they didn't publish their decision there. So they plan to say to the court that our case is premature and therefore it should be dismissed, because they still didn't publish. The thing is, there's no law that tells them how fast they should publish in the register. So I believe that they just plan to keep it open and not publish that decision. So anyway, there's a lot of more technicalities than that. That's a simplified explanation. Bottom line is, on April 1st, they published in a public register, in a federal register, after a lot of back and forth in the court. So we basically succeeded to stop them from transferring our case and from dismissing the cases. Now the case is going to go to something called multi-jurisdictional panel to decide in which court we're going to be heard. But basically we stopped the FCC from what they were planning to do. So yes, small victory. Yes. The thing is, they did put we know that they put their best attorneys on this case, and they know that this is a serious case. And we also see it in the media. There have been a lot of attacks on the Children's Health Defense in the past few days, very brutal attacks. And it's because we clearly making impact. We had a couple of campaigns in the past week, one against Governor Newsom for his decision to put more wireless in schools and give more wireless to children in their homes now. We had a campaign trying to tell municipalities how to stop the deployment of 5G in their municipalities during quarantine. We provided a legal solution, and we know a lot of mayors around the country did take notice. And so all of those smart things we're coming up with, making industry unhappy, and so we are being attacked. So,
aw, too bad. So, how can we support that lawsuit? So, how can we get involved? What will help? I want to help, and I want to support this, of course. What can we do?
So we are still raising money for this lawsuit. It's costing us a lot of money. I do my work, but we have other attorneys that are helping us with our work. And this is a complicated case, and it's going to be, I'm sure industry is going to intervene in this case or submit something called amicus brief, and we'll have to respond to all of them. So we need more money to be able to support this case. We're also planning to submit other cases. We're gearing up for a few more cases right now. But again, everything is dependent on how much money we're able to raise. So how much we can do depends on that. And so we definitely ask people to donate. And if you can even do a monthly donation that will go in all the time, we really work hard. I can tell you, I work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, no breaks at all. We're just so committed to this. This has to stop, and we need your help. We also would love for people to help us first go on our email list. So there's different take action items that we're going to continue and send out because we, as I said, we are working on various attacks and we need people to participate. And we created a very simple system called click to action system. So once we put it out there, all you'll have to do is essentially put your address and whatever we put out there, a letter, a petition, it will immediately send out to anyone who represents you that we choose. So if it's something we want to do in Congress, it will send out, let's say, our petition to your Congress member. Right now, we did that action to stop deployment during quarantine, and we wanted those letters to go to the mayors and city councils, and that's what it did. So follow our take action, promote it, use it, do it, and do what we ask people to do. That would be very helpful. And we are looking for people to help. We need more attorneys on board. We need graphic designers on board. We need IT people on board. We need people who will help us educate, answer emails. I'm beyond overwhelmed. We need help. And another important thing to do is really spread the word. And it is important that people will become educated and really learn the facts, because what happens when people don't learn the facts, and we see this now with the 5G and the coronavirus, people spread false information and industry is loving it.
Right.
So it's very, that's what people have been putting out there about a conspiracy and a connection between the coronavirus and a 5G, when most of them don't really understand what 5G is, false. And industry has been capitalizing in us, and the harm they are causing now is massive to our movement. Of course, they blame anyone and everyone who object 5G, like the Children's Health Defense, as being a conspiracy theorist connecting coronavirus to 5G, which clearly we didn't, but they use it nevertheless. Google today put, they changed their algorithm to basically ban anything that mentioned 5G and corona. So there is a massive attack, and when people don't know the facts and promote facts which are incorrect, they're helping the industry. So first, please don't promote anything that has to do with the conspiracy between 5G and corona. It is my informed opinion that there's no connection. I can say that yes, wireless technology is harmful and does adversely affect our immune system. And so if you deal with this, if you have the virus or other condition, it's going to impair your ability to fight those viruses or other health issues. But this is not the cause for it. This is not the spread of it. It's just not correct, and it's very harmful. So please stop promoting any videos that promote that message, and really learn the evidence. There's a lot of good website out there with good information, and I know sometimes it sounds a bit overwhelming, all of this tech stuff, but it's really not once you learn it. And again, there's really a lot of good resources out there to learn. So I also recommend people to watch the movie Generation Zapped with their families.
Yes.
It's a little bit undermining the evidence, and the director knows that. She knows that the evidence is much stronger, but she thought that it will be, she wanted to meet people where they are, and for that purpose, she thought it'd be good to downplay the evidence. I'm in favor of saying it as it is, but still, it's a pretty effective movie. It doesn't talk about 5G, but it explains a lot of the wireless issue on the harms, and it's a good start. And since it's a movie, it's pretty helpful for families. So try and educate your children, and the movie may be helpful in that.
Okay, so thank you. That's a wealth of information, and I'm going to chunk it down a little bit and go back.
Okay,
no, it's great. It's awesome. Please, no, bring it, more, please. I definitely want to get, I'm definitely on board for helping in any way I can.
Thank you.
So going back, I'm going to just share with you the questions that I would love for you to go back to. So at the top, you talked about how 5G is really 4G. And you did the different increments. I would love for you to speak to that. And then how can we take care of our bodies, and how can we take care of our homes? What can we do? And then I have one more question after that.
Okay, I guess that goes to the question. So again, what's the difference between 4G and 5G? As I said, 5G, again, it's not an it's not a technology. It's an infrastructure. It's a name for anything and everything that exist and will come moving forward. Do they have some different elements in that technology that we didn't have before? Some of the antennas have, but most of the antennas that right now are being deployed are 4G antennas, just like the one we had until now. But again, they're extremely harmful. Don't think otherwise. Your cell phone is harmful. Your Wi-Fi is harmful. Your Alexa is very harmful. Your anything which is wireless is extremely harmful and was proven to be harmful, and people are suffering in massive the sickness is quite widespread, as is already. So 5G is just more of everything, but also some new technologies, some we know of and some we don't. As I said, some of the 5G companies like AT&T and Verizon do use millimeter waves, but only to some of their antennas. T-Mobile actually bought a frequency which is lower. They bought a 600 megahertz frequency, not a millimeter wave frequency. Sprint 5G.
So what does that mean?
It means it doesn't, just different frequency. It's like a 600 megahertz, which means 600 million oscillations per second. It's actually a frequency that belongs to what's called the radio frequencies, which are also used for wireless technology. It's just a different frequency. It just proves that 5G is not about millimeter waves. It's just about more of everything.
Okay.
Sprint 5G is none of this. Sprint 5G is putting routers every 200 feet over the cables. Why is that 5G? Because if you have routers every 200 feet, you're going to be able to provide enough bandwidth for people to download more data. So really all of this is about more data, connecting things rather than people. And now the question is, why do we need that? We need that because that's how the wireless industry is going to make money. Almost every person on this planet already have a cell phone. Those cell phones do everything they can do. There's no more room for growth. So the industry had to come up with an idea how to continue and make money. And the idea was basically by connecting things and then taking the data and use it for different things. And there are reports, for example, from McKinsey, which is a very big consultancy firm. They said that that's an 11 trillion, your data is $11 trillion a year industry for them. It's also, but it's not marketing data. Marketing data is part of it. Most of it would go towards artificial intelligence and other things. For example, whenever you posted a picture on Facebook and Facebook asked you, who's that person? And you gave them the name, oh, that's my friend Wendy. That went into their facial recognition software, which they sold for a lot of money, and the data they sold for a lot of money. And now, for example, when you go to Walgreens, there is facial recognition software on the refrigerator asking you, basically recognizing you for being there, collecting data as to what you bought, how long you stayed in front of the refrigerator, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
So this is part of what 5G is about. Really what all of this is about, it's a whole different level of bad, which is called transhumance. This is really what this is about. I know it sounds like conspiracy, but it's really not. Google chief scientist is a guy by the name of Ray Kurzweil. Google Ray Kurzweil, and you see that in the 90s he wrote a series of books. The most famous one is called The Singularity Is Near. And it's basically how progress is no longer linear but exponential, and how we're all going towards transhumans, meaning we're going to be part humans, part robots. And this is not science fiction. For example, Elon Musk already started a company called Neuralink that basically implements something in your brain, a device that will connect with your wireless devices. And this is the kind of things that Google is working with together with this guy, Ray Kurzweil, and they invented a machine that can read your mind, and whatever their machine reads of you is going to be patented by them. So your thoughts are being patented by Google. So this is really where all of this is heading, and I really feel that this is right now a defining moment for humanity in so many ways, and I think that the coronavirus is even making it more urgent. So I think we really, all of us, need to stand up. This is a fight for our lives in many ways.
Yeah.
Back to what we can do.
Well, I just want to take a breath and just acknowledge that this is exactly what I was feeling as well. And we hadn't had this conversation. No. So it's just a confirmation. And thank you for all that you're doing. And thank you for disseminating this information and for speaking it out, because I do think we're really at a pivotal moment for humanity. So, okay. So what can we do in our home?
Okay, so for us, all of us, to be good warriors, we need to be able to be healthy and sustain all of this, right? So there's a lot you can do in your homes. And I know that people have different, financial, what they can do financially. Ideally, okay, let's start differently. First of all, the first thing I suggest every person to do is to get a radio frequency meter. I'm going to, maybe I should start differently. We're going to have a webinar on how to protect yourself and your family, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I'll send out information about it. We're just finalizing everything right now, but that would be worthwhile. We're probably going to be about 3 hours. I'll give a presentation for 1 hour explaining how to protect yourself, what you can do, explain all the different concepts, and we'll do it as detailed as we can, and then we'll have a Q&A session. However, right now, a few things. Number one is get a meter. you want to understand what's going on in your environment, because this radiation, you cannot see it, you cannot smell it. Some of us can hear it. If you have tinnitus or some auditory effects, very likely what you're hearing is the microwave radiation from your cell phone and cell tower and antenna. This is actually the first study that was ever conducted by our own government, by the Navy. It's a study by Dr. Alan Fry. And he went to an Air Force base where the soldiers were complaining that they can hear the radars, because radars, just like your cell phone, use micro frequencies in non-thermal levels. And he proved that, yes, it does cause people to hear the radiation. And actually, when you use the term tinfoil hat, people, that's where it comes from, because what the experiment did, he put a tinfoil hat on people's head and wanted to see if they continued to hear the radiation. And when we put the tinfoil hat, they didn't, because metal blocks radiation. So it's very true that tinfoil hat blocks the radiation, but it's also true that that's what you want to do in general, because you don't want to hear and see or feel this radiation. So essentially, you want to get a meter so it will make the invisible visible. And there are really good meters out there, and the different price range. My favorite is a meter called Cornet Cornet ED88T Plus. And I can send you the information after this conversation. Another one which is really good is a meter called Acoustimeter. And usually you have really good instructions on how to use it online, and also by those companies that sell them. Please do not buy them for Amazon. Amazon does not deserve our money. Amazon is putting satellites to transmit Wi-Fi as well. Amazon is tracking its employees with wireless devices. We do not want to buy from Amazon. Please buy from activists. Some of the activists have a side business of a store so they can fund their activities. For example, stopsmartmeters.org, they have a store. If you put stop 5G, you're going to get a 10 in the coupon field, you're going to get a 10% discount. And I don't have any financial relationship. I'm not recommending anything for financial relationships. So that's the most important thing. So you start to understand what is radiating, how much it's radiating, where is it coming from, learn how to work with this. And also it'd be helpful when you decide to disable those wireless devices to make sure that you actually were successful in disabling it. Next thing I suggest people to do is opt out from your smart meter. Smart meters are essentially your electric utility meter. In the past, you used to have this meter that had a rotating analog plate, but now they have numbers. But they have numbers that are digital, but mainly they have antennas to transmit your electricity usage to the company every second, every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds. And what it does, it's also put wireless frequencies into the electric system in your house, making the whole house into an antenna. I cannot be 10 minutes in a house with those meters. Immediately.
How do you know where they are, the smart meters?
Just go around your house and you're going to see that box. Just Google how it looks. That's the utility meter. And many times people start having symptoms and they don't know that basically that's the cause of them, especially if that meter is outside their bedroom or outside the living room, a place they spend a lot of time.
What if you live in an apartment building or a condo, you know?
That is the good thing about apartments. I mean, there's nothing good of living in an apartment complex when you have, in terms of this radiation. I got sick when I was living in an apartment complex. In terms of smart meters, of course, you want an apartment that is far away from the meters bank, because sometimes in an apartment complex, you have like 20 meters on one wall. And we know so many people who got sick as a result. But if your apartment is far enough from them, it may not be as bad. So you want to make sure that you don't live anywhere near those meters. But we had for years, there was a big campaign in the US to get opt-out from these meters, and most of the states do have opt-out, and you can get an opt-out from your electric company. Go online to stopsmartmeters.org. They have a list of the states with opt-out and instructions what to tell them. So I suggest use that resource. Also, there's a lot of state organization like Stop Smart Meters New York, Stop Smart Meter Massachusetts. So just go online and check them out. That is hugely important. I think I know more people who became sick from that. Sorry, I forgot to turn off my phone. That's my phone, my Skype phone. Just a second. Oh yeah, I just turned it.
Someone was just saying that the electric company in Los Angeles, you can opt out, but they charge $10 a month to opt out.
Well, they actually charge, I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn it off. Just a second.
No worries about, no
Okay,
worries.
hold on a
We're all
second.
good.
Actually,
I think we're an easy crowd.
No,
We're just,
I think it's funny. It's the head of Stop Smart Meters New York that was on the phone.
That's great.
And I just
Could
mentioned her.
could feel our energy.
Yeah, it was telepathy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so in California, you have an opt-out fee of $75 and then $10 a month for 3 years. I think money-wise, it's the best money investment you can make.
Yeah.
One visit in the doctor costs more. So, so yeah, absolutely do it and pay for it. But ask for an analog meter. Sometimes they say, this is not an art. I mean, they have all kind of tricks. Say, I want an analog meter. And anything else they say is unacceptable or install.
Okay.
And when they come, take that meter that you bought and make sure that it doesn't transmit. Put it near that meter they install, make sure it doesn't transmit.
Okay.
So a smart meters are huge. The next thing, which I think is also probably the most important thing to do, is to turn off the Wi-Fi in your home, especially at night. Wi-Fi is inhibiting melatonin production. Wi-Fi is interfering with the way your brain waves work, and that is the reason why many people cannot sleep, have sleep disturbances, and even if they do sleep, they wake up in the morning tired, irritated, etc., etc. Your brain cannot sleep when the Wi-Fi router is on, literally. I know even some people get nightmares as a result. It's a lot of things that I mean, we can go, there's this, I think about 150 studies showing what Wi-Fi and or the Wi-Fi frequency is causing. And there's numerous EEGs experiments that were done on these radiation effects on our brainwaves. And again, it inhibits melatonin production. And it's really crucial that your melatonin production will be at its best, because melatonin is crucial for us to correct damage that was done by various environmental exposures during the day. So we know that this radiation breaks the DNA. And during the night, as a result of production of melatonin, our body is correcting the DNA damage. And if you do not have enough melatonin, it cannot do the correcting processes. And that's actually a study that showed that the Wi-Fi frequency breaks the DNA, and that if you give people melatonin, the studies show that when they gave melatonin to the mice the night before exposure to this radiation, they did not have DNA breakage. So melatonin is crucial. And so it's inhibit melatonin, which is bad, but also if you don't have enough melatonin, you cannot fix the damage caused by this radiation. So no wireless in the house, especially not when you sleep. Learn how to hardwire, basically. I use internet all the time. People need to know that Wi-Fi is not internet. Internet, that big body of knowledge we access, Wi-Fi is accessing it wirelessly, while you can very simply access it with a cable. Here, I'm connected with a cable. I don't know if you can see me or not.
Yes.
But it's connected.
Oh, lost you.
Laptops or cell phones do not have that port anymore, the Ethernet port, but you can get an adapter. And that article that I sent you has all the information on how to hardwire your laptop, your iPad, and even your cell phone. It tells you what adapters you can have, and it's a step-by-step guide. So please use it. I mean, I hope we did a good job, but even if not, there's a lot of links to online videos on how to do it. And just please do that. It's major. And when you do that, you also want to disable the Wi-Fi in your router. You want to stop the router from transmitting the Wi-Fi. So when you stop the Wi-Fi in your router, you can still access the internet through the ports in the back of the router. And that article, again, it tells you how to do that. Reduce your use of cell phone. When you have a meter, try and find where is the biggest source of wireless in your house. Most of the times it's the windows, and there are ways to shield the windows. Anything essentially that has metal inside blocks radiation, but it's a bit more complex because metal is also an antenna. So we need to know how to use different materials correctly, and that may become a bit tricky. And that's when using a professional might be useful. So there are professionals that can come to your house and do what's called EMF mitigation. Some of them are called building biologists, and there's a website, the Building Biologist Institute, and you can put your zip code there and it will tell you about building biologists in your area. Some people are not building biologists, but there's some people who are electricians who are doing it, or people with other training. I do recommend people to ask for recommendations because there's different people and different abilities. And you can ask them to come to your house to do an assessment. Some of them have also teams like a professional that can help do the actual work of mitigation. Others don't. That's why I say talk to your friends, see who can recommend someone who can also do the job. So if you have a lot of problem in your house, and or if you are electrosensitive already, I do recommend to get a professional to help you mitigate the radiation in your house. I think the most important place to shield is your bedroom, again, because that's the most important time for our body. That is when the body doing all the recuperating work. So you want to have the best sleeping environment you can. There are paints to shield rooms from this radiation. It's called, for example, one of the paints called Y shield. I know that whenever I go to a room that's been shielded properly, it's unbelievably good. Some people ask me about fabrics that shield or bed canopies. I personally do not like them. My suggestion is not to use them unless you're electrosensitive and can feel if they're doing good or bad for you, because they're two-edged sword. So I much prefer, for example, for shielding the paints in the house rather than the bed canopy because of various issues with those fabrics. It's a short time to get into all of this in detail. Again, we're going to do a webinar and we'll talk about it more in detail. But again, turning off wireless devices is the key. Getting rid of a smart meter, understand your environment, reduce your exposure, wired your devices and use wired internet, not wireless. Turn off your phone at night, your cell phone at night.
But you're talking, excuse me, we're talking putting it on airplane, not do not disturb, correct?
Well, the problem with the airplane mode as well. So the reason we have airplane mode in our phone is because in the past, we only had talk feature on our phones. And that frequency that we use for the talk interfere with the airplane systems. Now, when we go on a plane, they tell us we have to put the plane on airplane mode, but we can use Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, because these are different frequencies that do not interfere with the plane. So now airplane mode does not stop the radiation in your phone. It only stops the talk feature. In most phone or some phone, you have to disable the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth independently. So the best thing to do, if you're not sure what to do and how to do, to turn off your phone completely. I do recommend people get a home phone and just forward your calls from your cell phone to your home phone. And it's very easy to do. You do *72 on your smartphone and the number of your home phone, and all your calls now are going to be transferred to your home phone. And if you go out the next day, you can just do *73 and it will cancel the forward call and you'll continue to be able to use your phone. So just I do recommend people start using regular phone.
What about smart TVs?
Okay, anything that is smart is dumb. That's a slogan, unfortunately. Everything that says smart on it, it means that it have a microwave transmitting antenna. Now, smart TVs are especially bad for different things. There was a warning by the FBI on December not to buy smart TVs because hackers can hack your house through your TV.
Wow.
So you really do not want anything smart is dumb on various level. It means that all of those house wireless system, security system guys, so dumb, hackers know how to break them so easily. Just hardwire everything. Get your alarm system be hardwired, your speakers be hardwired, and there are companies that are doing it, and it's actually, and they'll tell you that that's the best way to go because the information is secure and the information is hardwired and faster. So wired internet, wired anything is faster and more reliable than wireless, and it doesn't have as many security issues as the wireless. The wireless is the dumbest thing to do. So smart TVs, dumb idea. In some of the TVs you can disable the Wi-Fi. In some of the TVs it's more difficult. Again, I cannot tell you how to do it in your TV because every TV is different. And that's why if you have a friend who is a techie, ask them to come and help you, or just start learning those things. Unfortunately, just like people start to learn about different toxin in their foods and different chemicals, we'll need to put the effort into learning how to deal with this technology, disable a lot of it, and make it safer.
God, oh my God, Daphna. I just want to hang out with you. I just want to like come and shadow you and listen to you. Like your information is extraordinary. And when you do the webinar, please make sure I know, and I will send it out to my channels. And I have a question here. How can we find out more about connecting home phone and cell that you mentioned? I think you just said you just forwarded it, correct?
So first of all, another comment about home phone. If you have a cordless phone, put it in a garbage. Cordless phones are like cell towers in your house. They have a main station, and then they communicate with all the other stations in your house 24/7 using high frequencies microwave radiation. So those phones should go to the garbage. Get a corded phone, and if you like to speak hand-free, just put it on speaker. They work fantastic. They really work fantastic. You can speak and go around the house and do your chores and have no worries, but do not use a cordless phones. In terms of hardwiring, you can hardwire even your cell phone, your smartphone, and you can continue to use your smartphone as internet on the internet. And the instructions are in that document I sent you, and you can forward to everyone. So it explains how to do it. You will need to get an adapter that connects between the Ethernet cable to your cell phone, but you will be able to continue and use it. And I have a lot of friends who became sick after becoming addicted to their smartphones, and they just come home, plug the Ethernet cable to their smartphone, and use their phone at home, but wired rather than wireless.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is so helpful. There's Susie.
Hi.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Susie, did you want to say something?
I just had a question. So my son is 13 and he has autism. He's got heavy metal toxicity. He's nonverbal, so it's always really difficult to know exactly what's going on. But one thing I noticed is he does have an iPad that we use as a communication device only. He doesn't get it the rest of the time. We have Wi-Fi turned off. I have on airplane mode. Is there anything else that I should do besides just not letting him use that to keep that radiation away?
Okay, so the good news is we see once families take off all the wireless from their homes, we see immense improvement with children with autism. Actually, I have one of my closest friends is a doctor in California. Her name is Dr. Toril Jelter, and she had a family with an autistic child coming to her clinic saying, listen, we cannot control our child anymore. He was also nonverbal. He never said a word in his life. And he said, do you have any new medications? And she said, no, but what I suggest you do is turn off at least the Wi-Fi at night for 2 weeks and see what happens. And she said only at night because she didn't think that there will be, that the father will agree to do for more or during the day. And 3 days later, she gets a call from the mother about so many improvement with her son. And a few days later, she called her and said, our son started to speak. He literally, and I'm not inventing it. I know Dr. Toril Jelter, she's not inventing anything. And we know the family. This child started to speak full sentences, no problem, within a few days. I have shivers. Every time I say it, I literally have shivers.
I just did too.
So it's true, it's real. And we see it with, I know so many families with children families with children with autism that had immense progress with their children after the wireless was disabled. So my advice for you is even that cell phone that you're using right now for this call, do not use it at home. Hardwire it, start to change the way you do your life. No more wireless. And I'm almost confident that you're going to see beautiful improvement with your son. And I hope so anyway. And
Thank you so much.
It's big for people with children with autism, huge.
Yeah, I've been turning off the Wi-Fi at night, but I'm the same way. It's like has so much become integrated into a part of our lives. Right now I'm on my laptop, but I'm on the Wi-Fi in the laptop. My phone is inside and the Wi-Fi is on, and it just becomes that way. And every night I'm turning all the Wi-Fi's off and airplane mode. I turned my personal phone off, but we've got 8 devices at least in the house that are connecting to Wi-Fi. So I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on here. I've been on dozens of 5G calls, and this has been the most informative by far. So thank you so much. I really
thank you. And please, just it's a decision, like everything else we do in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I was thinking about when you said that, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, how do you address 5G transformation resistance? People, I mean, even in a family, when you bring certain information, not everybody wants to go along with it. So there's a lot of resistance.
There is. There's a lot of resistance for a lot of reasons, and I don't think there's one answer to your question. I can tell you that, no, it is. But I think number one, what I tell people, especially with children and teenagers, you know, you shouldn't threaten them. I think you should explain and teach. However, especially in families when one of the family members develop symptoms from this technology, you should be adamant about not using it anymore. And so sometimes I have families, like mothers, coming to me after lectures crying that her husband are not willing to get on board. I said, you're sick from this. Anyone who doesn't want to be part of it should leave the house, period. You have a right to protect your health. No, I'm serious. If you have a right
I'm
for
with
your
you.
health,
I get it.
and how dare they? Like, if you had diabetes, they would not come and give you a can of Coke to drink. And if you're suffering from this radiation and they continue to use wireless in your house, that's exactly what they're doing. So there shouldn't be any gray areas about this. If you suffer from this radiation, time to stop all of it, and everyone should take part and participate. Otherwise, they do not belong in your life, period. And just be very adamant about it. And I think also people will respond well to being strong about this. In other families, you know, you have to take a different approach. For example, I hear a lot from people who are doing EMF mitigation that usually when you come to your house, there's a spouse that is more interested and the other one is less interested, and that's an understatement.
Yeah.
And the way they deal with it, they go, let's say, to the husband and say, hey, listen, this is your wife. And, you know, at least it will give you peace in the house. So don't object. Let's go, you know, move, let it happen. But also what happens many times, almost everyone now has symptoms from this wireless, whether they know it or not. And when people start to reduce exposure, shield their homes, et cetera, everyone in the house getting better, and they start to notice that. So suddenly their tinnitus disappears. Suddenly they can sleep at night. Suddenly those headaches are going away. So they notice. So sometimes by acting, and once people see the results, it changes, they will get on board through that. Again, I know that people, you know, go on these talks like this one and start learning this, and they don't get the vocabulary immediately, and it's very difficult to explain. It's a lot of technical things. That's why what I recommend a lot of the family, again, go and bring a movie like Generation Zapped into your home, have a movie night for everyone, demand that everyone will sit with you, and that will help you make the case better than you can do yourself if you don't feel that you are comfortable talking about it. So use that method. We started a project called EMF Child Ambassador in the Children Health Defense, because we think that children are better educator of children. And unfortunately, we have so many children who are sick from this. So we started this program. We're building it slowly. We're showing children who are doing science projects on this. We're showing film of children who have become sick from this. And we are looking for children and teenagers to help educate others. So if your child become interested in this, please refer them to us. And we definitely want to help them help others.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I feel so full and still hungry for more information, because what you have shared is so helpful. And thank you, Susie, for saying what you did about this being such a great informative meeting, because it is. I've been taking copious notes, and I will make sure that the link goes out, and I will make sure that everybody goes to childrenshealthdefense.org and donates, so that this project can continue, so we can spread the message. Because what we have learned is that there's so much information that's proliferating out in the world, in mass media, that people don't have the opportunity to understand that it's a lot different than what they've ever read, or heard or see on TV. So thank you, Daphna.
Thank you very much, Wendy.
Yeah, I would love to have more conversations with you about this, and totally support what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm really grateful. Thank you. And thank you everybody who has been with us today. This has been so insightful and informative. And we've got some work to do, folks. We've got some work to do.
Yeah. But really the attacks right now of the media is becoming pretty cruel. And so it means that we are effective, but people need to spread the word.
Yes.
So they don't
yes.
kill us.
And don't be defeated just because somebody doesn't like what you're saying, just because they start giving you like oh yeah, you're so out there, like, doesn't matter. I really think it's person to person. And I want to thank you also, Daphna, because you got on the phone with me and we started talking, and you were so helpful. And that's what makes the difference. We're just here to help each other.
Right.
And thank God for people like you and Bobby and your team that also have the legal knowledge as well as the technical.
Yeah,
So
thank you very much. And thank you everyone who was on the call. And yeah, please, let's continue and make change and help everyone.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. And so folks, this is the masterclass interview series that I am doing, master series interviews. And it's the technology. You know what, Daphna, I've had tinnitus for over 12 years. So, and I'm just going to give an aside here. There's a Native American elder named Diani Iwahu. And years ago, I was on a call with her, and she asked me to check the ley lines, the L-E-Y, the ley lines near my house. And that she acknowledged that my system was so sensitive. So there are people that do crystal, like they have their house.
It's what you're talking. What you're talking about is geopathic stress. So I actually can feel it whenever I go. I know if there's something. Unfortunately, I feel anything and everything. So essentially, our Earth is an electromagnetic system. So there is electricity in our ground, and sometimes we feel that as well. There are people who's doing what's called dowsing. So you go with rods, and you can feel all of those lines on the geopathic stress. It's pretty real, but I think that you're very sensitive. I'm very sensitive. We can feel those things. Most people still do not. It will affect them in various ways, but I think really the most important thing to address is the wireless. We're all reacting to electricity. Those electric panels are not good. There's a lot of levels to this, but I think that the level that is the most acute to address right now is the wireless.
I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. I think it ripples out. I mean, it's so profuse what is happening that I absolutely agree with you. And all the tools and the steps and the suggestions that you make are imperative. They're imperative for us to do. So thank you. And I will talk with you very soon. And thank you all for being with us, and stay connected. If you have any questions, you can email me, Wendy@wendysilvers, SILVERS.com, and stay tuned for our next guest, because they're really wonderful people that are coming on that we're talking to. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.